The last sound I heard before the door clicked shut was Darian's familiar whistle, a small tune that always marked his departures. It echoed down the hallway of our apartment in the Arbat district, lingering just long enough to remind me that he was gone again. Another work trip, another stretch of quiet days and lonelier nights. This time, he was headed to France to referee a series of League One matches. 2 weeks, he said. Just 2 weeks? I nodded, smiling the way a wife should. But inside, I already felt the weight of those 14 days pressing down on me. The sound of the elevator descending faded into the hum of the city below. Rex sat by the door, his amber eyes following me, patient and knowing. I crouched beside him, brushing my hand over his thick fur. "It's just us again, boy," I whispered. He tilted his head, as if he understood the ache in my chest better than anyone. The evening light painted the apartment in shades of gold and amber. Through the panoramic windows, Moscow stretched into the horizon, 1,000 stories glowing in the dusk. The view had always taken my breath away, yet tonight it felt distant, like something beautiful but unreachable. In the kitchen, the faint scent of coffee lingered, a small ghost of Darian's morning ritual. I poured myself a glass of cold water, the chill of the glass grounding me in the silence. Rex followed every step, his nails clicking softly on the marble floor, a rhythm that almost comforted me. We moved to the living room, where the soft lamplight wrapped the space in warmth. I sank into the leather sofa and ran my fingers absently through Rex's fur. The television stayed off. The world outside could wait. My thoughts drifted to Darian, his laugh, his calm presence, the way his hand always found mine in crowded rooms. His career had taken him everywhere, yet somehow it always took a part of me with him. Rex rested his head on my knees, his quiet loyalty filling the emptiness that followed my husband's absence. "You and I make a good team, don't we?" I murmured, smiling faintly. He wagged his tail once, as if to agree. I stood and stepped onto the terrace, the cool evening breeze brushing against my skin. The city glittered beneath us, alive, indifferent, breathtaking. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" I said to Rex, though the question was really for myself. Somewhere in the distance, church bells marked the hour. The night was young, but already a familiar ache had settled deep within me. As I leaned on the glass railing, I couldn't help but wonder, what does a woman become when the silence lasts too long? Rex let out a low sigh beside me. The question lingered, unanswered, as the lights of Moscow shimmered like stars on the edge of sleep. The first night without Darian always felt the longest. It wasn't the silence that hurt. It was the absence of sound that should have been there. His laughter from the kitchen, the rustle of his jacket, the soft rhythm of his breathing beside me. Now there was only the quiet hum of the city outside and the steady ticking of the clock on the wall. I poured myself a glass of red wine and carried it to the sofa. Rex followed, circling twice before settling at my feet. "You know," I said softly, "I used to love these quiet evenings." I looked at him, the corners of my lips curving upward in a faint smile. But now they just feel like waiting. The movie I played on the screen was one Darian and I had seen countless times, but tonight I couldn't follow the story. My mind wandered, to airports, to stadiums full of strangers, to the look on his face when he kissed me goodbye. I remembered the promise in his eyes. "I'll call every night." He had called, of course. Short conversations filled with tired laughter and updates about the matches. But when the call ended and the apartment slipped back into silence, the emptiness felt heavier than before. Later, I found myself in the study, the one Darian always called my sanctuary. The shelves were lined with our travel photos: Rome, Prague, Istanbul. In every picture, he had one arm around me, his expression confident and calm, mine full of light. I traced my fingers over the frame from our trip to Lake Como. The image of us laughing under the rain made me smile and ache. "Do you think love changes, Rex?" I whispered. He raised his head, his eyes warm, patient. "Maybe it doesn't disappear. Maybe it just becomes something quieter." Outside, thunder rumbled somewhere in the distance. The rain began slowly, soft drops against the glass like hesitant memories returning. I turned off the lights and watched the city blur behind the streaks of water. For a moment, it looked like everything outside was crying too. Then came the knock. A gentle, almost uncertain tap on the door. My heart skipped a beat. At this hour, Rex lifted his head and let out a low growl. Not hostile, just alert. I stood frozen, glass of wine trembling slightly in my hand. The knock came again, firmer this time. I glanced at the clock, 10:47 p.m. Too late for a delivery, too early for Darian's call. Slowly, I crossed the room, Rex following close. My pulse echoed in my ears as I reached for the handle. "It's okay, boy," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. When I opened the door, the hallway light spilled in, revealing a tall silhouette I didn't recognize. Someone I'd never seen before, standing just outside my apartment. For a moment, I couldn't move. The man in the doorway stood motionless too, caught in the soft glow of the hallway light. He looked to be in his mid-30s, maybe older, damp hair from the rain, a black coat, a small leather folder under his arm. His expression was polite, but his eyes carried something unreadable, something that made my breath falter. "Mrs. Volkov?" he asked, his voice deep and calm. "Yes," I managed, tightening my grip on the doorframe. "I'm sorry to disturb you at this hour. I just moved in next door. Apartment 1403. He gestured toward the hallway. The rain caught me without an umbrella. I thought I'd introduce myself properly before the storm gets worse. Relief mixed with hesitation. "Oh," I said, stepping back slightly. "You must be the new neighbor. Welcome." He smiled faintly. "Thank you." I didn't expect to be met by thunder and Moscow rain. His voice had a warmth that filled the space between us, but it was the kind of warmth that carried an undertone, like fire hidden beneath snow. "Would you like to come in for a moment? Just until the rain slows?" I heard myself say before I could think. He hesitated, then nodded. "Only if it's not an inconvenience." As he stepped inside, Rex moved closer to me, his gaze fixed on the stranger. "It's all right, Rex," I murmured, patting his head. The man smiled at that. "You have a protector," he said softly. "He's magnificent." "He is," I replied. "His name's Rex. He doesn't usually trust people right away." "Smart dog," the man said, removing his coat. He had kind eyes, or maybe just tired ones. Something about him reminded me of Darian, and yet, not at all. We sat across from each other in the living room. The rain outside grew heavier, blurring the city lights beyond the window. I poured him a cup of coffee, grateful to have someone to talk to, even a stranger. "So," I began, "what brings you to the Arbat district?" "I'm here on a short assignment," he replied. "Architecture restoration. The firm moved me from St. Petersburg last week." "Architecture," I repeated, nodding. "That explains the sketches," I said, noticing the edges of blueprints sticking out of his folder. He smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "You notice everything, Mrs. Volkov?" I laughed lightly. "Occupational hazard. I'm a coach. I'm trained to observe." Our eyes met, and for a second time stilled. The thunder rolled again, closer this time, as if echoing the quiet pulse between us. Rex shifted beside me, breaking the spell. I glanced away quickly, suddenly aware of the wineglass still in my hand. "I should let you rest," the man said softly, standing. "It's late." "It's all right," I said, my voice lower than I intended. "It was nice to meet you." "Markel," he said. "Just Markel." As the door closed behind him, the silence returned, but it felt different now, charged with something unspoken. The city was quieter the next morning, the storm having passed but leaving streets glistening and reflections dancing in puddles. I stood on the terrace, sipping coffee, Rex at my side, and thought of last night, of Markel's unexpected visit, and the strange warmth his presence had stirred. Darian had called earlier, his voice tired but full of reassurance. "Everything okay there?" he asked. I smiled, hearing the echo of his familiar calm. "Yes," I said softly. "Just the usual quiet without you." He chuckled. "I'll be home in 2 weeks. Try not to miss me too much." "I'll try," I replied, though I knew the days would stretch long and lonely. Rex nudged my hand, his loyalty unwavering, a reminder that I wasn't truly alone. He had always been my silent companion, steady and comforting, understanding emotions without words. Later, I found myself walking through the apartment, tidying, organizing, and replaying last night in my mind. Markel's presence had been a ripple in the calm pond of my solitude, a subtle hint that life often arrives unannounced, even when we least expect it. By afternoon, I decided to take a walk along the quiet streets, Rex padding beside me. The city seemed almost magical in the light drizzle, each street lamp reflecting on wet cobblestones like stars caught on earth. I let myself breathe, letting the world move around me, feeling both connected and untethered at once. Memories of Darian's warmth surfaced. The quiet evenings we'd spent reading. The long talks about everything and nothing. The comfort of knowing someone always returned to you. Loneliness could be sharp, yes, but it was also a reminder of what mattered most. On the way back, I paused near the small cafe on the corner. Through the window, I saw a couple laughing, sharing a pastry. A moment so ordinary it made my chest ache with longing. Rex leaned against me as if sensing my thoughts, and I smiled. We continued our walk, slower now, savoring the calm after the storm. Returning to the apartment, the golden hour sunlight painted the walls in warm hues. I sank onto the sofa, Rex curling at my feet, and let the quiet settle over me. It was no longer emptiness that filled the space, but reflection, an understanding that solitude could be a companion too, gentle and forgiving. That night, Darian's call came as promised. His voice carried the weight of travel, of responsibility, and yet it was full of love. "How's my favorite coach?" he asked. "I'm surviving," I teased, laughing softly. "Rex and I have been keeping each other company." "I'm glad," he said, with a pause that held more warmth than words. "I can't wait to get back. 2 weeks will feel like forever without you." As I hung up, I looked at Rex, whose amber eyes met mine with unwavering devotion. In the quiet apartment, with the city lights twinkling beyond, I realized something profound. Love wasn't only about proximity or grand gestures. Sometimes it was in small, constant presences. A hand, a glance, a loyal companion by your side. And though the days stretched ahead, full of distance and longing, I knew the heart's capacity for connection would carry me through. The rain had passed. The storm had ended, and in that calm, I felt a sense of quiet hope, knowing the ones we love always find their way back. Moments of solitude can reveal the deepest truths. If you felt Lena's journey and the bond she shares with Rex, subscribe now and follow along as these stories of love, longing, and hope continue.